Welcome back. So the ANC has been granted leave to appeal the MK Party trademark judgment at the Supreme Court of Appeal. The Durban High Court handed down the judgment yesterday after the ANC lodged an appeal against the court's previous ruling, where it said that it had no jurisdiction to hear the matter. So what if the MK Party loses? Has it strengthened its identity enough possibly to lose its name? Let's bring in a political party brand analyst at Dr. MK Zwakala. Dr. Zwakala, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Before we deal with some of the issues that are raised in relation to the infringement of the trademark, let's speak about what a trademark is and how individuals associate trademarks to an organization or even a brand.
Yeah, so there's two elements to it, Aldrin. Good morning and happy Women's Day to all the women. But there's two elements to it, of course. There's a legal aspect of it where you register the trademark where no one else can use it. And then there's a brand element to it, something that people tend to associate with, a brand that then gets positioned in various sectors. And I'll touch on the latter part of it, not necessarily the legal element of it.
Not the legal element. So how do individuals associate that particular marker to a brand or an organization? And also when it comes to the infringement of that particular marker as well, the case that then becomes part of what we now see being argued at the Supreme Court of Appeal, or will be argued at the Supreme Court of Appeal?
Yeah, you remember, Aldrin, that there's a very critical dimension in brand building. This is in the political landscape, in business, and even entrepreneurship, which is called the visual identity or the visual elements of it. So if you launch a political party, if you launch a business, you'd want a brand with its unique visual elements to it. Your colors, your slogans, your mantra, so on and so forth. And that is what you exactly register. In fact, you can even register a color for that matter. So what the probable infringement here is that there's been an extended identity of the ANC in the name of Umkhonto weSizwe to an extension of the ANC of what now is called Umkhonto weSizwe. And this is quite important. These are the nitty-gritties of branding that are so important. Aldrin, you may recall that in the 94, 99, perhaps up until now, there's an older generation that is unfortunately illiterate, and how they were taught to vote. For instance, they would say, go and look for Umkhonto oneviri. You know, that's in Xhosa, simply meaning it's a spear in the wheel, right? So it does cause a bit of confusion from a visual identity point of view. When you then have an extension of that ANC brand in the form of Umkhonto weSizwe, and to add to that, you then have a former president of the ANC, who then is the face of Umkhonto weSizwe. Remember now, the logo of the ANC, Umkhonto oneviri. So there can be confusion there, and I think it will be quite interesting to see what the final outcome is.
Yeah, so it is now the battle of the spear, and who has a legitimate right over the spear. We know that Legacy Projects, the company that actually went and registered the trademark as their own, have now handed over those rights to the ANC. The matter will be argued at the Supreme Court of Appeal. What does this mean for Umkhonto weSizwe political party, and how they've also branded themselves since the launch of the party on the 16th of December, which of course is also the day that which Umkhonto weSizwe, the military arm of the ANC, was founded on?
Yeah, I don't think, Aldrin, I stand to be corrected. I don't think this will have a direct influence on Umkhonto weSizwe as a party. Remember, this party was formulated behind a brand persona, or what we call in branding, brand anthropomorphism. So there's a big, look, like it or not, the former president is a brand of his own, right or wrong. Okay, so I don't think that would be immaterial. The outcomes would be immaterial because there's a strong brand behind, there's a strong brand persona behind the party. So it could be called Umkhonto of the village, for instance. But if you've got a strong brand persona such as Jacob Zuma, I mean, this should not be. It will be an inconvenience, of course, but it should not anything that should be gashing the party.
Yep.
Precisely because of that strong brand persona.
Do you think that brand Jacob Zuma is more powerful and, quote, more known compared to Umkhonto we Sizwe political party?
Definitely, definitely, and he is definitely bigger. There would not have been Umkhonto we Sizwe, which would now be the third biggest opposition party. Well, I don't know if there's opposition parties, the third biggest political party in the country without Jacob Zuma. And there are other elements that come with this, Aldrin. So if you're building a brand, there are issues that we call resonance and relatedness, culture and values, for instance. I know Umkhonto we Sizwe has been known to be somewhat of a tribal party. So there are elements of culture there, the elements of values, the elements of, as I've said, resonance and relatedness. So there are people that will relate and resonate with the persona Jacob Zuma. So in essence, he is bigger than the party. If they lose the case, they launch a party under the different name. They would still have maintained their membership, because I don't think people voted for Umkhonto we Sizwe party as a brand, but they voted for the brand persona Jacob Zuma.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens if the court was to find in favor of the ANC, and what that means for the IEC, and how the IEC would have to work around its papers in relation to the Umkhonto we Sizwe political party. But then again is the issue around, we speak more about the trademark, and this is now in reference to the logo and the spear and the man holding the spear as well as a shield. What about the name itself? Can the courts, for instance, say that actually the trademark has been Umkhonto we Sizwe, which has an association or with the particular logo with the spear, and that could be the infringement. However, though, the name itself, Umkhonto we Sizwe, is a name that the party can continue to use?
Yeah, it's those two are really nuanced, Aldrin. So the one is Umkhonto we Sizwe. The differentiator there, the minor differentiator, may just be Umkhonto we Sizwe party. If I may, even if you go to the private sector, there are brands that mimic other brands in order to benefit from a brand's history that has been built over time. So the slight differentiator there, from a registration point of view, may be the MKP, Umkhonto we Sizwe Party, whereas the Liberation organization would have been Umkhonto we Sizwe. So they may just get away with that because it is slightly differentiated by the word party.
Yeah. If Umkhonto we Sizwe political party was to call you up today and say, Dr. Zwakala, can you please assist us with the brand identity of the party? Should the party lose this particular case at the Supreme Court of Appeal, what would your advice be?
Yeah, that's a tricky question, Aldrin. Look, you need to build a party from within. So, I mean, all brands are built from within. And part of the first steps of building a brand, you need to find a unique position, right? You need what reputation do you want to create? What perceptions do you want to create? But perhaps before that, what do you stand for as a party? You need to establish that identity point of view. So you start internally, what you stand for in society, with never mind mimicking what other parties are saying, what the ANC is saying. So I would advise them to establish your own unique identity, what it is that you stand for, besides what you've stolen from the ANC, from a values point of view, from a visual identity point of view, but establish your own unique identity, position that in society, and see whether a society accepts or rejects it. That's a point of departure in any brand building exercise.
Yeah, and for instance, if you look at the court papers and the judgment from Judge Chetty, he says that the ANC says it will continue to suffer the risk of reputational erosion as a political party for as long as the debate regarding the use of the name Umkhonto we Sizwe remains unresolved. And the focus has been on how Umkhonto weSizwe political party has benefited, like the explanation that you made a bit earlier on, because of the association to the ANC. But we haven't really focused on how the decision to have Umkhonto weSizwe political party with the association to the ANC may have also meant for some people who are illiterate that voting for the ANC also means it is a vote for the Umkhonto weSizwe political party.
There's a point to be made there, Aldrin. I think the ANC is making a valid point there. So their reputation is somewhat been eroded. There's been confusion caused, and this is often deliberate in brand building. I earlier on referred to mimicry, Aldrin. So there's obviously has eroded definitely the reputation of the ANC as a party. I mean, the election outcome proved my position in that regard. So there's a point to be made there. There's definitely an extended benefit. There's confusion that may have been caused. There's another party, Aldrin, I think it was called the AIC.
The AIC, yes.
Yeah. There, I'm not sure if you know the history there. Again, there was a deliberate attempt to cause confusion. I mean, at the voting station, and it benefited. So these need to be differentiated, so not to confuse. The vote out there. So it's definitely has eroded brand ANC.
Yeah, but do you think that the MK Party itself also could have lost some votes to the ANC because of that confusion and people believing that voting for the ANC also means you're voting for the MK Party?
Definitely not, Aldrin. I wrote an opinion piece on the richness of the purely for academic purposes, on the richness of the ANC brand. You don't just dominate for 30 years, exist for 110, 15 years, whatever the case is. So definitely not. The ANC as a brand, they're very strong. I still believe they possess substantial equity. And I think based on that brand, this is what I was saying in the opinion piece, I think based on that strong brand with a history of performance at some point, in the earlier years of democracy, I think it would be very perilous of opposition parties to assume that this brand will not be resuscitated. It definitely, I think the ANC would have suffered and not the mimicry brand in the form of MK Party.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Dr. MK Zwakala there, who is a political brand analyst, and he also makes reference to the African Independent Congress. Remember that there was a whole row over that as well, and the ANC arguing that the AIC benefited from the confusion that the acronym AIC has a close link to the ANC. It is 27 minutes after 8 o'clock. Let's take you to this story now.